Hello you guys, and welcome back to my channel. I am so excited to bring you today's video because we're going to be finishing off our Christmas living room. If you missed my video from last week, we decorated this beautiful tree behind me. We added lots of textures. I shared with you guys a bunch of tips and tricks to make your tree look designer and textural and just super festive for the season. I'll have that linked down below, but today we are finishing off this space. We're going to be adding in a bunch of bows and greens, reds, plaids, all the wonderful quintessential cozy textures that I love to add for this season. And it's just going to be so much fun bringing this whole entire room together and getting it ready for Christmas. With that being said, we're going to be using a lot of decor in this video. Anything that can be linked will be linked in the description box down below. A lot of the pieces I'll be using today are DIY pieces as well, so I'll also try to link those if that's something that you're interested in. So without further ado, let's get decorating. So last time that we decorated, we put together this beautiful tree. This area pretty much looks exactly the same. We did add a few more of our personal sort of family ornaments. And as you saw earlier, I did add a rocking chair. I felt like it really just filled up the space beautifully. And during the holidays, you always can use extra seating for get-togethers and things like that. So this is what the setup looks like. If you missed that video, I will have it linked down below, but we will be coming back to this later just to add a few more touches to go with the tree and the rest of the decor. So the first area I want to decorate with you in today's video is this cabinet area. First things first, I did get some new prints for Christmas this year. I will have the package that I downloaded off of Etsy linked down below. It came with 500 plus prints, I believe, and I just love the vintage feel of them. They add in a bit of a pop of color, a very natural, organic feel, and I just think that they are beautiful. So if you're looking for an easy way to sort of switch up your decor for the seasons, frames especially, switching out artwork can be a really easy way to do that. So on this cabinet, I already have this brass lamp. I love all the details in it, and it just adds a bit of a coziness to the space. So we're just going to build on top of this. I am going to clean off the cabinet with some surface cleaner just to get it all nice and prepped for decor. And from here, we pretty much have a blank slate. So I'm going to start over by the lamp itself, and again just sort of build off of that and create a vignette right next to it. First, I'm going to start with a couple of design books. I have Made for Living as well as Homebody by Joanna Gaines. I love these because you can use them all year round. They're beautiful, they're so fun to look through, and something about design books just really makes your home look together and high-end, and in this case it's going to create a great base for our bells. I picked up these bells from Hobby Lobby this year. I love the patina on them. They have so much texture. I got two different sizes, that way I could pair them together just to add a little bit of variation. And you may be able to tell you're going to see a lot of brass in this video. I love the combination of green and red as well as brass. So I'm going to stand up the taller one, and then the smaller one I'm going to lay on its side. It really adds a lot of dimension, and whenever you repeat elements and put them right next to each other, it really gives a designer high-end feel. Next to this little area, I'm going to add in our nutcracker. I got this from Hobby Lobby, and I stained it with the stain color Provincial by Varathane. This is going to add in a bit of warmth and also a little bit of height. So I am going to put it right in between our bells as well as the lamp, just to create some separation between the two brass elements. Now I do end up taking out this element later on. I felt like it just didn't really add anything. It kind of made the space a little bit too busy in my opinion, but I love the scent of this candle. It's vanilla balsam. I personally love the smell of a fresh Christmas tree, and that's exactly what this candle smells like. So I did add that in. It does create a wonderful ambiance, but like I said, I do end up taking that out to make it a little bit more minimal. What I found was this little spot needed a pop of red, so I took these red berry stems and decided to add a couple in between our bells just to add a little bit of texture, and again that pop of red that we're going to be adding throughout the rest of the room. So we're keeping this vignette super simple, and then we'll move on to the other side of the cabinet. To the other side, I'm going to start with this planter. I picked this up from a garage sale a while back and did sort of an aging technique on it. I love the urn style and shape of this vessel. To the vessel, I'm going to add these picks that I got from Michael's last year. I love how big they are, all the different textures. There's the classic pine and cedar, berries, pine cones, and even magnolia stems. I just love the variation, and with just 2 of these picks, I was able to fill up this planter. And I wasn't really able to add a natural element to the other side of the cabinet, so I thought this would be the perfect piece to start with on this side, just to contrast it, but with the same color scheme. Next to that, I'm going to add a couple accent pieces. I found these wicker boxes at Goodwill this year. I love the different tone of brown, that sort of tan wicker material. And then I'm just going to add in a simple brass candlestick to add some height and also some ambiance with the candlelight. I love the way that this makes your home feel, especially for the holidays. Nothing says coziness like a candle. And that's pretty much all I did for this cabinet. It's super simple, it's elegant, and it's really going to set the tone for the rest of the room. So while we were over in this corner, I wanted to add a new element to this space next to our sofa. For the longest time, I felt like we just needed a little bit of something here, something to bring in a rich wood tone and something with a little bit of storage. So when Lubona reached out to me and asked me to review this side table, I was more than happy to see it in my space. This is the Daryl Hidden Storage side table. As you can see, it's in a really rich, almost walnut wood tone. It's a very modern, simple side table as well, and something that I love about this end table is the hidden storage compartment in the back. All you have to do is push it in and then it pops out with a hidden storage compartment. You can keep remotes or reading glasses, really anything that you just want to keep nearby, and of course it does have a functioning drawer on the front as well. Overall, I love this piece. I love the look of it. I really like to mix modern furniture in with more traditional style pieces. It's a really good quality wood. It's nice and heavy. It was really easy to put together, and it's just a perfect size for our space. So if you are interested in checking out any of Lubona's furniture for your own space, I definitely recommend taking a look at their site. There truly are so many beautiful furniture pieces to look at for so many different styles, and they were kind enough to give me a code for you guys. If you go to their official site, shoplubona.com, you can use the code AVA15 for 15% off of your order. So I will have this specific end table linked down below, as well as their official site. To this end table, I'm keeping it very simple. I just had this coffee table book. I think it's technically a cookbook. I put a black vase on top for some contrast, as well as some greenery stems from Joann's last year. And then for a pop of red, I'm adding in my vintage Santa, and then just a little tapered candle and holder. And it's really, really simple. I wanted it to go with the rest of the room, but not detract from all the other big statements that I plan on making. Attention to the corner of this room. We just have a little cabinet on the wall and a family photo. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, but I think I want to give this cabinet a makeover. I don't mind the color, but it is definitely not my favorite. I would love to give it a sort of wood grain with a rich stain color, sort of to match the media cabinet that you guys will see later on. But I am going to start by wiping this off so we have a clean surface. And this is the area of our room where we like to add our nativity. We have had this nativity for as long as I can remember. It's probably 25 plus years old. I always like to sort of make a moment of our nativity set, and usually it's putting it on this cabinet so it just sort of has its own spotlight. Of course, it's always important to remember every single year that Jesus is the reason for the season. He's the reason that we get to celebrate and have this wonderful holiday. So again, I would just wanted to make sure that that was highlighted. So we're just going to put together this sweet little nativity scene in this corner of the room. Now, right in front of where that nativity scene is, we have a sort of reading nook. So we have a little end table as well as a recliner just to sort of fill in that space next to our sliding doors. And I found quite a few elements that I wanted to add into this space that I am so excited to share with you. First things first, we're going to decorate this end table. I got this from Wayfair and I still do need to seal it, and I think I also want to stain it to match the other wood tones in the room. But for now, this will do. So again, I am starting just by cleaning the surfaces. Because this is sort of a raw wood material, you really have to put that surface spray all over it, and that's just the best way to clean it and get in all the little nooks and crannies. Because this end table is in front of a window, I wanted to add some vertical height to sort of break it up and draw your eye. So I actually found this planter. I used this outside for some plants that I did this past summer, but obviously I took all of the soil out and I am now replacing that with a Christmas tree. And this is a very old Christmas tree. We've had this for so long. It's not the most realistic tree I've ever seen, and it also has the galvanized pot, but it works perfectly just to pop it in and disguise it. Now that we have that height and glow, I did want to add a pop of red to this planter. I found this ribbon off of Amazon. I love the color of it and the frayed edges. It really adds a lot of texture. It's also a perfect material to make a bow. It has enough structure where it will hold the bow, but it'll also droop really well and look very elegant. So I just did a very loose bow all the way around the planter. Again, I wanted it to look kind of effortless and elegant, and the red just really brings the whole color scheme together. Next to it, I want to add a pop of brass. When I went fall antiquing, I found this antique, I think it might be a French horn, correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I ended up just putting that up against the planter. I love the patina of it. It looks very old because it is very old. Adds in a little bit of a different material, and I just feel like it's such an elegant element. And then to bring in a little bit more red as well as the cozy ambiance, I added this 3-wick candle. I love the vintage feel of the label, and it has Santa on it, but it's very subtle. It's adorable. And then to the bottom of this end table, I'm just going to add one of my magnolia journals that is themed for the holidays, has that pop of red, and I'm just going to put that in the front just so it goes with all of the other elements that we added. This end table was super simple. It's still functional. You can still set a drink down on the coaster. You can set your phone down. And again, because it's in front of that window, it really breaks up the space. And I feel like it's just the perfect amount of decor to accent the rest of the room. So now I'm going to add a pillow to the chair. Because it's such a dark charcoal color, I did want to add something with a lighter base. So I went with this pillow cover that I found off of Amazon. I love the creamy background of the plaid. It brings in the red as well as the charcoal tones that are in the chair. Contrast is probably one of my favorite elements to play with, and it looks so good in this space. Now we are moving on to the media center. I was listening to some Christmas music while I was decorating, and I just love the cozy ambiance and the image that is on the screen. So first I'm just going to add our stockings. I already put them on this stand. This is another one of those pieces that we have had for as long as I can remember, ever since I was a kid, and then we just have our stockings. And I love this stand. It's really simple, just wooden, has some red bows and bells, so it really actually does go with our decor really well this year. And this is just another area of that window that gets framed out really well with this piece. So for this media center, I wanted to set up a really beautiful Christmas village. I believe I bought this Christmas village maybe not last year but the year before, and I really wanted to do it up this year in a place where we could reach it and turn on the lights and really enjoy it. Last year I put it up on our shelves and we never really turned them on, so I really wanted to make that glow really accessible. So in order to make a really visually interesting village, I wanted to start with this stand. I believe it's technically a cake stand. I thrifted this from Goodwill, and I'm going to add a little bit of texture and a pop of color with this greenery pick. And this is what our houses look like. I have 4 of them, and again, they do light up. I love the warm glow of them, and there's just something so charming about a sweet Christmas village during the holidays. So this is going to be our first element, again adding in a little bit of height to start to build off of. So now we're going to add in the rest of our houses, and I want them all to be at varying heights. I want it to be asymmetrical, but I also want it to be balanced. To the right of that stand, I ended up adding a couple books, adding another house, and then here I'm just going to be adding in the rest of all of my little buildings. There's a church, and then there's a couple other styles of houses. And before we start adding in more details and little figures, I'm just going to use these mini flock trees that I got from Hobby Lobby, I think a couple years ago. I'm going to put one on either side just to balance everything. And now my favorite part is bringing it together. I wanted to add a lot of texture. I wanted it to go with the rest of the room. So I added some berries, and this particular set from Target came with some bottle brush trees. I love how they have a little bit of snow on them, and there's different colors, textures, and sizes. And I also ended up adding some pine cones for more of a natural texture. I used bigger ones and smaller ones, and I really just played around with, again, wanting it to be asymmetrical. I didn't want it to be the same on either side, but also making sure everything was balanced both color-wise as well as quantity in terms of all of the things that I'm adding. And I love how this village just creates a big statement. I love the cozy glow, all of the textures we were able to add, and it just looks like such a cozy, effortless, sweet little town. Now let's turn our attention back to the sofa. I want to add a lot of really festive and fun textures, but first we're going to be focusing on the floating shelves. As you can see, they're both sort of staggered, and I wanted to fill in that area below the shelf. So I did install a command hook, and we're going to be hanging this antique wall hanging basket. I picked this up from a vintage market this past fall. I filled it with some of my favorite pine stems, and we're using more of that red ribbon from Amazon. So I have one long piece that's sort of connecting the basket to the hook. I just tied a simple knot around it and left some pretty long tails to sort of give the illusion of a very voluminous bow. As you can see, the hook is not fully covered, so we're gonna do a couple different tricks, use a few more pieces of ribbon to cover that up. So first I have the bow itself. I just tied a simple bow and stuck it on the end of the hook. To cover up the back of the hook, I just took a smaller piece of ribbon that I tied into a knot. I pulled apart the knot a little bit so that I had a little gap to wrap around it, and we ended up with this really beautiful, elegant red bow. I love how it brings in that pop of color and really fills in the space below that top shelf really well. Now, since we have a little bit more visual weight underneath that top shelf, I want to add some height on the left side to sort of offset that and give the illusion of it being very balanced. So I have this holly print that came from the same package of photos that we used in our gallery wall. I have it in this antique gold frame, and I actually did hang that on the wall. Now, for a fun sort of organic accent, I wanted to put together a little dough bowl. So I have some stone acorns, some berries, as well as a few pine cones. I'm going to start with my biggest elements first and then fill in with the smaller ones. This is super fun. You can do this same sort of thing with dried oranges, or if you have some leftover pine stems. And I'm going to be styling this on my shelf, but you really can style this sort of thing on a coffee table, side table. If you have a really big dough bowl, you could make it a whole centerpiece. There are so many ways that you can incorporate really fun dough bowls for the season. So I'm just going to be putting that underneath the painting and adding in a tapered candle for some height. And then to the other side of the shelf, I have a picture frame and a green book, and that just sort of brings our whole color scheme together, balances out the height, and it gives the shelf a lot of variation. To the top, I'm going to keep it very simple because we do have the basket and a little bit more of a busy shelf on the bottom. So I have this gold reindeer on a book, as well as some stems that I picked up from Hobby Lobby this year. I believe they keep those in their bridal section, so they're not necessarily a fall or Christmas stem, but the burgundy was perfect for a subtle pop of color. And overall, I love how these shelves turned out. There's a lot of height and a lot of texture. I love the addition of the candle. I love how elegant and big our reindeer is, and that wall basket has to be my favorite part. And to the sofa, like I said, I wanted to add a few textiles. I want it to be very simple and cozy. So first I'm starting with this cable knit cream pillow, and then I have this green ribbed lumbar pillow. I love the variation in the height, and then there's also some texture differences. The cream one is from Target, and then I actually made the pillowcase, I believe, last year. And then to the other side, I have a big charcoal pillow and then another one of those plaid pillowcases from Amazon. And to our ottoman, I'm just adding this really simple cream blanket just to add a little bit of interest to the ottoman without being too much and distracting from the rest of the room. To finish off our decorating today of this room, we're going to turn our attention back to where the Christmas tree is. Like I said, I added in a rocking chair, and to this chair I wanted to add in our vintage bear. This is something that we got from our grandparents a couple years ago. They used to have a bunch of these bears around their home for the holidays, and they ended up giving one to each family, and this is the one that we ended up with. I love the vintage charm as well as the pop of red that goes with the tree. And to this side table, I'm going to add just a couple things, a couple books. I believe they're both thrifted, or sometimes I find books at antique stores for really good prices. Next to them, I'm going to add this DIY lantern. I made this a few years back. I basically hot glued a bunch of twine all the way around a mason jar, painted it red, and stuck some fairy lights on the inside. The pop of color goes perfectly with the rest of the elements, and again, it just adds to that glow of the whole room. Alright, you guys, that's going to wrap up today's Christmas decorating video in our living room. It's so cozy in here. I love all the warm lighting, the textures, the pops of the traditional red and green. It's just so beautiful and cozy in here. I hope you guys got a bunch of inspiration for your own homes. Let me know in the comments below which part was your favorite. I definitely have a few different areas that I really love myself. I truly think this is the coziest our living room has ever been for the holidays, and I'm just so excited to celebrate the new season. So again, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you guys so much for spending some time with me on my channel. I hope you guys are having a wonderful holiday season, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, you guys.